In this video, we are gonna recreate the podcast covers from Conan OBrien Needs a Friend, Call Her Daddy, and the Huberman Lab. And we're not just gonna do this because it's a ton of fun and because we wanna copy the artwork of other creators. No, because instead, this is one of my favorite ways to learn and teach design fundamentals and to see how accessible Canva is to create professional graphics. We're gonna learn about text placement, choosing the right text, photo placement, removing the background from photos, adding effects to photos, and a lot more. By the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to design your own professional, really slick looking podcast cover. So what do you say we get to it? Let's see how long it takes me. I'm kind of hoping that I can do this in less than 20 minutes. So let's start with this one with Conan OBrien. This is gonna be really fun, and instead of Conan OBrien Needs a Friend, we'll say Studio Steve Needs a Friend. So to start with, we can just start a new page by clicking on this icon right here and start with a blank page. And then let's bring in this podcast cover with Conan again, and this time we'll crop it down so that we just see Conan. And then we can see if we can find the font that this font is. Now here you can either press the T key for text, or you can come over here to text and just add a heading. And then you can resize it this way, or you can always type in up here to do a quick resize, which I find myself doing a lot. And we'll actually just put in Conan. And already this railway heavy looks a lot like it. But we can also continue to try to find something even more spot on. Go down here, this aileron heavy looks good. If we were to bold it, that's even closer, I think. So that's looking really good. We'll go with this one, and we can even play with the letter spacing by clicking on our spacing tool up here in the top hand toolbar. Kind of squeeze the letters together a little bit more. And that looks pretty good, pretty spot on. Now that's some impressive stuff. So now we can match the color by changing the color from this text color button up here. And because this design is here, it knows the photo color here. So now we have the photo color too. And I think I squeezed these together too much. So do something like that. That looks really good. Now we just change it to Studio. And then we can delete the Conan. We'll put this up here. And let's copy this. We'll press Command C or Control C for copy on a PC, and then Control or Command V as in Victor for paste. And we'll call it Steve. Let's make the letter spacing a little bigger because Steve is a shorter word than O'Brien. So it's gonna fit into the design a little bit differently. And that looks pretty good. I know. I know. What's cool if you ever want to kind of reverse engineer or try to match podcast cover art, which I like to do a lot, or even YouTube thumbnails, you can design right on top of the podcast cover art and get the dimensions and everything just right. So if we come to elements here, and then we look for lines and shapes, let's click on this first line option that's available to us. And then I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more on this with our handy zoom slider tool here on the bottom and move this right in place. We can click up here and change the color of the line. We also can change the line style, so we'll make it a little bigger like that. Now we can slide it into place and we'll get this line exactly like the line on Conan's cover. And we can even find the right color using our eyedrop tool from the color picker button right here. And then we have an eyedrop tool, and we can go until we find this gray color. And now we have the exact gray color that Conan uses as well. And then if we just put it perfectly in place, and again, press Command or Control C, and then come down to our design and Command V, this gives us an idea of where that line really should be. So we know we have to come up with the font and find a nice position for Studio Steve there. Now we needs a friend. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit again. Again, we can come over here and press T and add a heading, and we can change it to 200. And let's just type in needs a friend. That Studio Steve really needs a friend. And then I will left align it by clicking on the alignment tool up here in our top hand toolbar. And also we're going to adjust the line spacing now, again with our spacing tool, make that a little closer, bring this over here. That looks pretty good. Now we just need to find this font. So let's zoom all the way out so we can see both. And I like the font Oswald. I think that it's gonna look a lot like this, a little bit different, but probably very similar. So let's go to Oswald. And we, again, can just drag this up here and position it directly on top of Conan's design if we wanted to get it looking really close. Maybe just the letter spacing ever so slightly. I think that's pretty good. I mean, that's really close. So now we can Command C to copy that, come down here and Command V. And now we need this part, Team Coco. We could probably use this same font or something similar. Let's go ahead and press T this time for text. Instead, we'll say Team PSS, and we'll change the PSS to the orange color by highlighting just the PSS, going to the color picker, and choosing the same orange color again. And let's do the same thing with this. We can drag it up to Conan's design here to get the sizing right. And that looks pretty good, but this is definitely the wrong font for this. Let's see if that Aileron Heavy, however you pronounce that, looks good. This looks pretty good, actually. I think this is the one we'll go with. Just there, now Command C, and we pop it in here. Now we just need a picture of Studio Steve. So if we come along to the left-hand toolbar and click on Uploads, we'll find a picture of me. And then we just need to remove the background. If we come up to where it says Edit Image and select Background Remover, it will remove the background. This effect is worth the Canva Pro subscription alone. It's amazing. Okay, and I like to crop this unused space here in the photo. It makes it more manageable later, and we'll go ahead and say apply. Okay, now if we want, we can actually bring this one, slide him on top of Conan too, and get the face positioning just right. Put my head over Conan's head, and maybe it needs a little of a rotation. We get the positioning just right, and now we can copy this, come down here and paste this, and that should look very similar. So if we come up here and let's just delete all the elements we added so that we can get back to Conan's original. Actually, I just remembered there was one last thing I wanted to show you that we forgot to do, and that is this design of my Studio Steve Needs a Friend isn't quite right because it still needs a drop shadow, because as you can see, Conan has a nice little faint blurred out drop shadow behind him, which really helps him pop out in this design. So we'll click on my image, come up here to where it says Edit Image, and then from Edit Image, if you scroll all the way down, you see Shadows. Let's go ahead and select Drop. And it's putting the drop shadow off to the bottom right, just like Conan, but we'll need to click on these three sliders, this icon right here in the middle of drop, so that we can adjust the parameters of this effect. And let's go ahead and blur it more. And as we start to blur the effect more, that should look good. And then we need to make the transparency, we need to make it more transparent. The offset is quite a bit, has quite a bit of an offset, and the angle's kind of like so. And then more transparency. And it's not gonna look just like Conan's, but it looks pretty close. His is a little more blurry. They sort of blurred it off, but this looks really nice, just like that. Now on to the very popular Call Her Daddy podcast. It's a Spotify exclusive. We're gonna use a picture of Veronica for this one, and let's call it Call Your Cousin. Hey Henry, call your cousin. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a new design, brand new page again, and let's start by working on the background. Let's look for photos and we'll type in studio background, because it seems like she's in a studio here. We kind of see that faint distance of what would be the floor back there. So any of these studios will probably work just fine for us. This one looks good, but if we want to get it to really match and really look similar, we might have to do this one and then actually change up the brightness and contrast of it. So while this image is selected, we can click Edit Image, and then here we can adjust the brightness, and we can get it pretty darn close. Now we just need to find this font. So let's go ahead back to text again, add a heading again. We can make it bigger any way we want. And in all caps, I'm gonna type in Call Her first. We'll bring it up here and kind of spin it, rotate it a little bit. And now let's look through the fonts. You can look through all of the fonts. One thing you can do also, if you click in this box right here, Canva will give you some suggested font categories, and this can be really helpful. This one, handwriting, would be the perfect one to look in. This font right here is the font, and it's called New Wave, spelled KN. This is actually the precise exact font that they use. So it's really cool when you can luck out and get the exact font. So now instead of Call Her, we'll say Call Your. And it looks like these are actually different fonts. They're using different fonts from each other. So let's press the T again, and this time we'll say Cousin. Call your cousin. And we can do the same thing where we sort of position it like so. This one looks like the permanent marker. Let's try that. Yeah, I'd say that's close enough. And we can put it right there. And now let's change the text color by clicking in the color selector. And look, we have the photo color right here. We can find the pink. Ooh, but it's not quite the pink. So we can go to the color picker and actually use the eyedropper and go directly to the color. And there we go. Now we have the exact pink color, and let's change this to a white. we'll go to the color picker and change it to a white. And now we need something for podcast, but I'm gonna copy these and put them in our design. And now we have call your cousin in exactly the right place. Now let's look for the word podcast. Again, I'll press T for text. We'll just type in all caps the word podcast. And actually, let's leave out the O and put a couple spaces in there. Stop putting a period in there. And for this text, let's try the finger paint text. That looks pretty good, pretty spot on. Let's make it white. Come up to our spacing tool again and change the letter spacing so this kind of fits right where it should. It looks like they have it kind of tilted down a little bit like this, and that should leave enough space for our lip marks. And now let's find some lips. I'll click on Elements from the left-hand toolbar and type in lips until we find the perfect set. Let's say see all under graphics. And when we find lips we really like, we can choose those. I think I like these ones. And we'll go ahead and use that same pink color from the design that we've been using. And now we use lips for the O instead of an O. That looks pretty good. We might need to make those a little smaller. We can zoom in with our handy zoom in slider at the bottom. Pretty good. Now her lips were a little more smeared. Maybe we want more smeared lips. More realistically smeared lips like these ones might look better. Let's try these ones. The Call Your Cousin podcast. This is great. Now what we're gonna need is, so we can delete these elements from up here. We're gonna need a line, and remember we know how to find lines. We go to Elements and click on Line. Click on Line, move it where it should be. And now we can play with the weight of the line and get it just right. And then the color of the line can be our pink color as well. We could actually Command X or Control X to copy it, but make it go away and then paste it down here. And interesting how that isn't lining up the way that it should. Very interesting indeed. Oh, because it wasn't lined up. There we go. Now let's move it right in place. And if you want to get something really precise, here's a Canva Pro tip.
Canva Pro tip.
You can use the arrow keys to slide your elements and objects around. So now I will press Command C for copy. We'll come down into this design and press Command V for paste. That looks pretty good. We can move it around ourselves and get it how we want it. And now we need to get this Spotify exclusive logo up here. An easy way to do that, and another pro tip, is to press the R button, which stands for rectangle. Let's make it white. It'll automatically bring in an R button. And then if you ever want to scale a square and keep its square dimensions, you can hold the Shift key when you scale it at the corner, and then we'll get that. Now, I don't know what the quick key is for triangle because T is for text, not triangles. So let's just search the elements for triangle. I think this one will be good, and we'll change the color white of this as well. Let's turn it up here. We're gonna flip it around to 180 degrees. Ooh, I flipped it the wrong way. We wanna flip it this way to 90 degrees. And now with the triangle selected, I'll hold the Shift button and select the square, and then this word group appears above them, and I can group them, and now they can move around as if they're one thing. So now I can copy this, paste it down here into our design, and put this up to the corner. And now if I go to Elements, let's try typing in Spotify. And look, we have the same Spotify graphic. All we have to do is pop it in here, just like that, a little smaller. In fact, we can check what it looks like here and get it the exact same size. It comes in at the right size. And let's change the color. With the eyedrop picker, we can just pick this background color right here, and that should look just right. Yes, it does. So now we have the Call Your Cousin podcast. The only thing we need is a picture of Veronica and a pink couch. Oh, and we also need a Spotify exclusive. Let's type that in real quick. Let's come up here. I'm gonna press the T again, and let's all caps write a Spotify exclusive. And we'll look around fonts. We can click up here where it says Oswald, and we can search from all of the fonts. I think this Roboto is perfect, especially if we bold it. It's a little more letter spacing, and that is gonna take up basically the same amount of space. I'm gonna call that good. Let's change the color to white. We'll press Command C or Control C for copy, come down to our design and paste it. So now we're gonna need a picture of Veronica and a pink couch. So back to our uploads again. I found this picture of a pink couch. All we need to do is remove the background. So let's click on Edit Image and Background Remover. Yes, you can remove the background of any object. using Canva Pro. It's amazing. There it is. We'll press apply, and let's position this in a way that seems about right. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so we can analyze the other picture as well. I think that's good. Now this is gonna take up a little more space, but we may move the couch around once we get Veronica in there. Now I have this picture of Veronica that I've already removed the background from. So now we can just kind of resize her. If we want, we can actually kind of make Veronica the same size as the host of the Call Her Daddy podcast here. Make sure their faces are about the same size. So if Veronica's taking up basically the same amount of space, right about there's good. And then we can come down here and paste Veronica right there. And there you have it. Call your cousin. Okay, and last but not least, we're up to 19 minutes. I only did 2 in 20 minutes. Well, this one's really easy. Basically with this one, we just need to find the text very quickly, which we can do. So let's just press that T again. Let's do dendrite. Google, what's a dendrite? Dendrites are processes that extend from the cell bodies of cortical neurons. Dendrite den. And this font, Oswald, is looking like the right font. Let's change the color to the blue color of the design. And let's just work on dendrite first, and then we'll add the den afterwards. I think if we were to make it the right size, let's zoom in a little bit, make it the right size like that, and then actually play with the letter spacing, we'd be in good shape. There's dendrite, and then we'll copy and paste that. And now down here, let's write den. Now we have those, so we can zoom out, go to our new design and press Command V for paste. And we have the dendrite den in there. Now all we need is this little border here. So let's come to the elements again, and let's just type in border or square border. Probably this one right here would be good. Let's see if when we scale this up, if it gets to be about the same size. It does. Yes, it's like perfect. And then we come here, and we use that blue color once again. We copy it and bring it down into our design here. And now we need a photo of a guapo looking hombre like that. Just so happens we got one right here. So let's go to uploads, and look at this guapo looking hombre right here. So let's get him in the right position with Mr. Host up here. And we'll turn this around. Might need to spin me a little bit, and then we can copy that and paste it right there. There we go. And now we'll just need to adjust the positioning of it to make it come in front. Now here is another Canva Pro tip.
Canva Pro tip.
This is a really incredible pro tip. You're gonna love me for this one. And it's also a hotkey. So remember this, option 1. Seriously, it brings up the layers tab, which is really cool. And then all we need to do is slide this in front like that. And then of course we would need to slide him behind there, but we wanna keep the background white the way it is. Now the only thing we have to do with this picture is to make me black and white, and also add a lot of contrast, it looks like, and probably bring up some of my highlights as well. So all we have to do is click on my image, select edit image, and then we can go to these adjustments here. Let's go ahead and click on see all. And first we're going to add a little brightness, add a little contrast, and let's take all the saturation away. Definitely gonna need some more highlights like that. That's gonna look more like his photo. Definitely some more contrast. And then I would even bring the shadows down so my shirt becomes even more black. His shirt is basically the pure color black, which really helps in this design. And I think we can now, let's even out my shoulders a little bit more, bring me down like that. I think that's good, look at that. Okay, so where are we at? 25! I did it in 25 minutes and 27 seconds. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? This is something that I do inside of our course, Smart and Simple Podcasting, when we work with students to actually craft the perfect podcast cover for them. So I thought I would share a small amount of it with you. In that program, we have a podcast workshop where we go into great detail about design, a lot more than I could cover in this video. It's a coaching program where we work in a virtual classroom setting with students to help them produce professional podcasts as part of their content marketing strategy. So check out podsoundschool.com to find out if we're open for enrollment and what other programs we offer. So what would you like to see me create next? I'm thinking website banners, YouTube banners. Who are some of your favorite creators? Let me know in the comments below and I may include it in my next Canva video. And of course, while you're there, hit the subscribe button so you don't lose this amazing channel. And if you love that and you want to see me recreate 5 YouTube thumbnails from some of our favorite creators, check out this video right here and you'll learn even more really valuable Canva Pro design tips. You're gonna love it.